Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We're here breaking down what happened at the NFL Combine. Shedeur Sanders is a little cocky, and you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man, the people in the room, G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Tanner. We are almost at the end of bulking season. I can say I enjoyed it while it was here. I'm in for a rude awakening at the end of the month. I'm doing a high rocks race. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So I had an either. Look, this is some typical former college athlete who's now washed up trying to find the high again. I'm not even trying to hide it. This is exactly what that is. I got into my first Spartan race last year. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Said maybe I would do another one day. One of my best buddies who I actually ran track with in high school, and we trained together after high school as well. He hit me up and he said, "Hey, I signed up for a doubles high rocks race and I don't have a partner. It's in DC, which is near where I live. You got to do it with me." And I was like, okay. I mean, he already signed up and he sent me this text recently. The race was like 5-6 weeks after he sent the text. It's like, he probably can't find anybody else to do it. Whatever. I'll do it with him. So I am going to be doing this. It's basically a back and forth of running, and then you've got a challenge, and then you run and you've got a challenge. Run, you got a challenge. And the challenges are things like pushing a 400-pound weight sled, doing 45-pound lunges, med ball throws, row machines, ski machines, stuff like that. And it's a 1K run in between every station. So we're trying to do it in less than an hour and a half. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. I'm about 205 pounds or so right now, and I was 150 pounds when I was competing as a runner. So we're just gonna see how it goes.
205, damn. Beefy.
I know I'm getting up there, Tanner.
That's big.
That's combine weight.
That's big, man. How much of that is fat? How much is muscle?
Well, I mean, I don't have an exact percentage breakdown. Obviously, it's not like I have a DEXA scan laying around here. But I've been proud of myself on this bulk because I think this is the least fat bulk that I've had so far.
Yeah, you're gonna be huffing and puffing, man.
I'm in this weird. So I tried to run recently because once I found out I'm doing this race, like I got to get in shape, right? And I did a few workouts. One problem I'm having is because I am so much heavier than I was when I ran, and I know that 205 obviously isn't all that heavy, and people run it that weight. But the thing is, my body's not used to it. So when I try to run, it's easier for like my knees and my calves and my ankles to get beat up quickly. So I haven't been able to run a lot. I've been able to run intensely when I do run. And what I found is I actually have really good cardio, just as far as if I've got to run this amount of miles, I can go do it. But it's like as soon as we do something really intense and I lose my breath, it's not coming back. So for me, this whole thing is going to be a balance of treading water for as long as I can, because once I go under, I'm not coming back up.
Yeah, well, lay it on the line, just like Shedeur Sanders did not lay it on the line at the Combine this week. So do the opposite of what he did. Before we talk about Shedeur, before we talk about Will Howard and everything we're going to discuss today, Grant, why don't you tell the people why they need to not only subscribe to the podcast, but check out WSN.com.
I mean, guys, with everything that's going on in the world of sports right now, March Madness is around the corner. NFL draft around the corner. The NFL, college football not too far away. NBA playoffs, NHL is going on, soccer leagues, all that stuff. You got to go to WSN.com. Tanner, myself, a team of experts, we're talking about the games. Okay, we're previewing them. We're sharing our favorite betting picks. And if you're lucky, you might get some promo codes for the sports books to get you some extra bonus bets and things like that. So go check it out. World Sports Network, WSN.com. It is the place to be.
So Shedeur Sanders is a little bit cocky, according to some NFL GMs. You're saying he's slipping out of the first round, Grant, according to some reports you've seen on Twitter. I've seen a little bit of that. I've seen more now going to the Raiders. That's kind of been the overall theme that I've been seeing. But the bottom line is, coming out of these NFL interviews at the Combine, which he took part in, he was cocky, he was arrogant. And again, if one GM or one football ops person says that, it's going to become a big story. Who knows what he was like with every single team he met with. But I'm not surprised in the end of the day if that was the narrative, because he's been cocky for the majority of his career. I like Shedeur. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's going to change a franchise. But, I mean, when you're flexing with the Rolex, right, the Shedeur, obviously obviously he's going to be a little bit cocky, more than the guy who takes the ball, gives it back to the ref, and goes celebrates with the teammates.
Yeah, so I think this is a very unique situation. It might be a first of its kind. Maybe it's happened before. I can't really think of a situation. I don't want to call Shedeur self-made because that's disingenuous. You know, obviously we know who his dad is, but he's someone who's been successful. He's marketed himself. He's performed at a high level, and he's made money through himself in this NIL era. People wanting partnerships, opportunities. He's been able to make his own money. So he's walking into the NFL as a multimillionaire. And if for whatever reason he flames out, he's got all the security in the world. So I'm not talking about what he did. I'm just saying theoretically, Shedeur could walk into the combine and these interviews as the most confident person in the room. And these scouts, these GMs, they're probably not used to dealing with that. For the most part, it's, players, I don't want to say sucking up, but trying to make the best impression possible. Like, oh, pick me. You need to draft me. If I impress you, take me higher. I make more money. Shedeur and Dion, they're looking at this like, we know what we are. We know we're good, and we want to go to a situation in which we want to be in. So as Shedeur is having these interviews with these top 10 teams, if you get to the New Orleans Saints at number 9, and I'm just throwing them out there, not saying that this has been reported, but if he doesn't show too much interest, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he wants to go to the Saints. I think he's confident enough in his abilities and where he's going to land to say, I don't need to be here. The exact report that I saw, and I saw several of them, but Todd McShay heard from 2 teams in the top 10, both of whom are looking to draft a quarterback, that they left their interview with Shedeur feeling as if he did not care too much about what they or the organization felt of him. So I don't know that necessarily means he was cocky and arrogant or just he was indifferent. Either way, I don't think it's the best thing. It doesn't inspire the most confidence in you to draft him with your pick. But this Shedeur situation, he could be number 3 to the Giants. He could go, Lamar Jackson fell to 30. Shedeur could be, not even a top 20 pick by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, if he doesn't go in that quarterback window, he's not going to go in the first round. You look at the teams that I imagine said he was cocky. Tennessee, probably one of those, just because why would you want to go to Tennessee? Out of the teams that need quarterbacks up top, though, I'd rather go to Tennessee than probably the New York Jets right now, at least. That could change. New York Giants, potentially, they need a quarterback. Matthew Stafford didn't want to go there at all. That's a team that I could see him being potentially a little bit cocky with. But at the same time, too, when you're talking about the Giants, you're talking about a franchise that's a staple in the NFL. You're playing in New York. You're playing for the big dog in New York, not the Jets. So that's one that I'd be a little surprised if he went in there arrogant. And then realistically, though, if I'm looking at a team that I would think Shedeur wants to go to, and I think Dion wants him to go to, it's probably the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas, big market, big franchise. That's the place that I would say if he's turning it up for one interview, it's that one. But you can't be like that. That's the problem. In the NFL, you can't necessarily go into an interview saying, like, I want to go to this team, because so much happens on draft night. So many people are getting traded and pieces are going here and there that the draft order is going to get thrown out of whack. So if I'm the Raiders, yes, maybe I want Shedeur. But also, if I'm hearing this stuff, these rumors about how he is with other teams, that's also a little concerning too, because you're spending a lot of money on this guy.
Yeah, so in my first mock draft that I posted before the combine over at WSN.com, I had Shedeur going to the Raiders. The whole Tom Brady connection, it just makes sense, right? In my new mock draft that I wrote after the combine, I dropped him to number 7. I had him going to the Jets. I think it would be an optimal situation. Apparently, they're ready to let Tyrod Taylor play this year out. And I'll be honest, Tyrod Taylor, I think, can do a solid job. I don't think he'll get them to the playoffs, but I think he will go out there, perform decently well. It'll be a solid locker room presence. It'll give Shedeur a transition year, which I think would be good for all parties involved. We talked about this numerous times. I think every quarterback should be able to sit for a year. So I have Shedeur going to the Jets at 7, but I don't see it going to the Giants. I know that there's a lot of talk about Matthew Stafford there. The Giants apparently offered the Rams what they wanted and Stafford what he wanted, and Stafford took his mind, or changed his mind, took a pay cut and stayed in LA. But I just don't see him going to 3 there. I think you're gonna get Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, or Abdul Carter on the board at pick 3. And in my mind, no matter how bad you need a quarterback, there's just no way you can ignore those three guys.
I totally agree with that. At the same time, too, though, if you're one of these teams like the New York Jets, maybe even the New York Giants, not necessarily a big chance of winning this year. Maybe you keep building your skill talent and then go to the draft next year. Because next year's draft, I do think Arch Manning's going to stay in school. Like I don't think he's going to come out after one season, but he would be the highest rated quarterback on the board right now. You got Nico from Tennessee. Drew Aller's a guy, and I'm sure we're going to get the Will Howard comparison in the comments when you talk about Drew Aller, a guy that probably is not going to be NFL ready in the minds of the public. But Drew Aller's a freak of an athlete when you look at him. 6'5". That's something that scouts are going to want to work around. Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, guy that I like, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. Absolutely love Nussmeier. There's a lot of quarterbacks next year. I think the depth of the quarterback class is a little bigger next year. So if you want to keep building your skill talent in a year that you're probably not going to win anything, it could be a good idea to pass on these quarterbacks right now, especially if you're not sold on them.
I also want to emphasize the importance of the Giants' situation here. And we've said that we believe the Giants are more likely to go try to get a veteran to save their own jobs, specifically Dable and Sheen. But look around the division. The Cowboys, who were right at the top there for a good chunk of time, they're now the third best team. They've still got Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. The way these mock drafts are going, they could end up with Ashton Genty. They could end up with James Pierce, a very impactful player in this draft. You've got the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels. All that cap money, we know they're going to spend it. They're already starting with the moves and go out and get Deebo Samuel. Not that that's going to change lives, but the point is they're being aggressive. And then you've got the Super Bowl champions. So again, no matter how bad you need a quarterback, if you're going to reach for Shedeur at 3, when a lot of scouts are saying he's not a top 15 pick, might not even be a first round pick, just because you need a quarterback, that still gives you the 4th best quarterback in your division with a bad team around him in what is now one of the toughest divisions in football. I'm with you. Build the skill positions, build the trenches, get a bridge quarterback in free agency, go back for your guy in the future later.
Yeah, because if you draft a quarterback this year, I mean, pending you're not Jaden Daniels, like the Washington Commanders are the exception. The rookie quarterbacks that take off and thrive, the Texans of last year, that's the exception. For the most part, you're not going to be good if you have a rookie quarterback. So with that being said, you got to account for that and say, well, if I'm not going to be good with a rookie and I don't necessarily believe in them for the future, why am I going to waste money on him right now just because I quote unquote need a quarterback? There's plenty of bridge quarterbacks out there. I could name a bunch, but like one guy that just comes to mind, Zach Wilson, who's the guy that's not even on anyone's list to be a bridge quarterback. And I know people think Zach Wilson's terrible, but you know what? I'd rather have him going into a season than a rookie quarterback, just because the maturity's there. He's been built up. And if if teams like the Jets are set on going with Tyrod Taylor for a season, like Zach Wilson's right there with him, I would say.
I mean, there's a ton of guys. You could put Marcus Mariota on that list.
You could, and you're not going to win with Marcus Mariota. You're probably not going to win with Zach Wilson, but it gives you a better chance to win than a rookie quarterback, especially for the future when you're adding in the talent that's in this draft. There's a lot of good talent elsewhere. The quarterback position's not very strong, and Cam Ward last season, Cam Ward's not going first overall to the Tennessee Titans. It's not even being discussed if it was last year's quarterback. So that would be my biggest concern as an NFL scout. And then to top it off, you're getting Shedeur Sanders being cocky. I don't care if he wasn't cocky with you in your interview. When you're hearing those rumors, you want to hear it's a great guy, hard worker, blah, 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 all the good stuff.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add.
Biggest issue too, I would say, I don't think it necessarily comes down to the money. Like you were talking about NIL money and like that's changed the game 100%. It's changed the game. But I think for the most part, if you're an athlete that just has the general respect of the teams in front of you, you're going to go into every interview with an open mind. This is the NFL. It might not be about the money in the sense of for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Shedeur Sanders got all the money in the world. He can never play football again. He's going to be fine. He's a Sanders. But it just comes down to this is a job interview for something that I want to be the best at. Money aside, I already got the money, but I want to be the best and I want to go into it with an open mind and change the trajectory of a franchise that drafts me. I don't care who it is. That's the problem that I have with if he was cocky in these interviews. Again, we don't know. We're just reading reports.
Yeah, I'm not saying Shedeur has character concerns, but there are a lot of potential issues with a lot of these guys in the draft. Mike Green, the Marshall edge rusher, led college football in sacks last year. Supposedly he's got some character concerns. James Pierce Jr., an end from Tennessee who ran a 4.47. Supposedly he's got him. You've got guys like Will Johnson and Benjamin Morrison and Josh Simmons who have injury problems. There's a lot of volatility in this draft. And as we know every year, there's always one domino that falls and that throws everything off. So as you're looking at these mock drafts, obviously I've written a couple, so I'm a little bit familiar with what the landscape looks like. There's a lot of points where people agree, whether it's a player, a position, or just a certain thought, like addressing a weakness versus drafting based on ability, whatever. One thing is going to happen, and it's going to change the trajectory of the entire draft.
Totally agree with that. One guy that's trajectory has changed slightly, I would say. I don't know if people are super high on Will Howard coming into the combine, but did not have the best combine. It depends on who you ask, too. He missed some really bad throws. He made some good throws. There were people that said he did a decent job. There were people that said he did a bad job. So I don't think he helped himself. I don't necessarily think he totally hurt himself based on a combine performance. Will Howard's a guy that was not super high on the board. He wasn't going to be a first-round pick. If you drafted him, you were taking a chance on him to potentially be somebody in the future or a backup quarterback. So Will Howard's performance, the bad throws that he missed, does not necessarily change my opinion on him too much. I truly think the on-field talent matters the most. He made throws in the games, and you're going to have him sit. So the fact that he got a little nervous maybe and couldn't throw to receivers that he's never worked with, I'm not super concerned about it. What about you, Grant?
Will Howard, I'm not too surprised by his combine showing. If he went there and he lit up the world, maybe he could have raised his stock, but it's not a guy that you were going in there expecting him to be a first-round pick. So if he's going to have some mess-ups, then it is what it is. It should have been expected to a certain degree. One thing I was actually just pulling up because I didn't want to misquote it. We were just talking about Shedeur and maybe him being a little cocky. He actually came to Will Howard's defense on Twitter. He tweeted out unprompted. Nobody tweeted at him. This wasn't a reply. He just said, I don't know why y'all are hating on Will Howard. He just won a natty. It's hard to throw to receivers you don't know. Everybody runs routes different.
Well, that's what I can't stand in today's world, too. Going back to the last show we did, we were talking about Jason Tatum being disrespected. Well, and then the comments are, well, Jason Tatum has this unbelievable roster. Like, he's got a lot of talent to work with. But that shouldn't decline your greatness level. Like, if you're great with great talent around you, you're lucky to be in a good situation, but you're still a great player. Same thing with Will Howard. Will Howard had all the talent in the world. He had the $20 million roster, but he was still making throws when he needed to in big spots. And then the comment after that, when you say that, it's like, well, let's go to the Michigan game. He couldn't do anything. Everyone's going to have a bad day in sports. Everyone's going to have a bad day. So I don't like the comments that people get after Will Howard for just being on a good team. Will Howard was a catalyst of that good team. They ran the ball well, but they also threw the ball in big situations. And he was fantastic in so many games. I think back to the Tennessee game. I mean, just lighting up a Tennessee defense that people thought could play with Ohio State.
He also played his best game of the season in the national championship game, which I think is noteworthy. He was like 12 of 13 at halftime or something like that.
Yeah, no, Will Howard is that guy. I truly believe in Will Howard. I believe in Drew Aller in a year from now. I believe in these big quarterbacks that haven't necessarily hit their peak in college, because if you can get them right and they can sit for a few years and they learn, you're going to be in good shape. I'll say this right now. Will Howard, if he ever gets the chance to start, has a better opportunity to be a better starter in the NFL than Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders with them playing right away.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
If you put Will Howard in a situation, if you put Will Howard in a Jordan Love situation, it's not going to be Jordan Love, obviously. But if you put that kind of situation for Will Howard, he's got just as good of chances surviving and thriving in the NFL as Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders do playing day one. Well,
yeah. If it works out for Cam and Shedeur, then if they hit their best, Will Howard can't hit that level as well. But because you're saying he gets to sit and develop and mature, and they potentially go in there, get their confidence ruined, it could balance out.
Yeah. I mean, just realistically, like going back to, let's have some fun here. Let's go back to pick a year, Grant. Pick a year.
2017.
All right, 2017. So let's go through the first round quarterbacks in 2017 moving forward. I'm trying to find the list here. Okay, 2017. Here we go. All right, first round quarterbacks. Let's say round. All right. 2017, right here. All right.
Is
Mitch,
this? I think this is the Mahomes year.
yeah, this is the Mahomes year, but okay. So it's Mitch Trubisky, X,
Yep.
Mahomes, win, Deshaun Watson, L. Even though he played well at times, still not a guy that I would ever put a first round pick on now at this point. So 2017, you're 1-2 with first round quarterbacks. Then we go to 2018. Baker, yes, at this point. Baker's done enough for me to say he was a first round quarterback.
It looked like a no for a while, but yeah.
But he had the potential. It was a bad situation. Baker's one of the guys who escaped a bad situation. That's what you got to tip your cap to. Sam Darnold, yes, this year.
Still, I would still say no overall, but potentially changing.
He's not first round worthy at this point in his career. Josh Allen, yeah. So you're 1-2 right now. Josh Rosen, 1-2, you were 2-1. Now Josh Rosen, you're 2-2. Lamar, you're 3-2. So 3-2 there.
And that's a good year. I mean, you got Josh, Lamar, and Baker.
Yeah, definitely. Let me keep going here. Okay. So then Kyler Murray. No.
Not worth a first round
Not
pick.
worth the first pick in the draft. Daniel Jones.
Nope.
No. Dwayne Haskins.
Rest in peace. No.
Rest in peace. No. All right. So you're 0-3 there. 2020. Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love.
One of the best quarterback drafts ever.
Yeah, that's a good one. They've hit pretty much on most of those. 21, Lawrence. No. Wilson.
No.
Trey Lance.
Definitely
No.
not.
Justin Fields. No.
No.
Mac Jones. No. So I think the point is being made here that you have a bigger chance to fail as a first round quarterback than you do to succeed. So if you get in a situation like Will Howard has just as good of a situation as being a successful starting quarterback if he sits for 3 years and learns.
While we're talking about quarterbacks, I don't know if this sticks out to you at all. They measured Cam Ward's hands just as they do everybody's. They were 9 3/8 inches, which is not horribly small. Just to give you some other numbers. So Joe Burrow actually only has 9-inch hands. A guy who's another Baker has 9 1/4. Mahomes is 9 1/4. So like it's not to the point where it's so small. It's like Jared Goff, but at the same time, most of these star quarterbacks have 10-inch hands. If he goes to play for the Browns and they play in bad weather, like, do you even really care about that at all?
No, I don't care. The hand size is overblown. It's totally like Jalen Milroe's hands grew 6 inches from the Senior Bowl to the combine. That's hand size doesn't matter. How do you throw the football? How do you look when you're out there playing the game? I care more about that than how big their hands are. All these guys got big enough hands to grip the football. In the NFL football, it's so much bigger than a college ball. It's insane.
Yeah.
With that being said, how do you throw it? I'd rather see how you throw it more than your hand size.
Hand size, I'm a little less. I think arm length, even though it's extremely boring, I think that stuff is important for your linemen. But hand size, I'm with you for the most part. Unless you're like the Jared Goff region, then I think it's not really that big of a deal.
I'd rather have a 6'4" quarterback with a small hand than a 5'11" quarterback or a 6-foot quarterback with massive hands.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we got that, Grant. Now we got some regular news coming up. Why don't you break down the Bengals?
Yeah, so the Bengals have decided to franchise tag T. Higgins, so he's back for at least one more year. Ja'Marr Chase, the team exercised their club option. He's going to be in the 5th year of his rookie deal, so potentially, could be without both of these guys next year. It would be a crime if the Bengals don't have at least one of those guys on the roster next year, but neither one of them are happy. Ja'Marr Chase wanted that contract last year. I don't understand what he needed to prove. I think it was obvious he was worthy of the contract. Bengals didn't give it to him. He takes out that $50 million insurance policy. Now, T. Higgins is not very happy with this situation. Him and Ja'Marr have been posting pictures on Instagram, basically signaling they're not very happy. I'm looking at a picture right now. It's Joe Burrow giving like a weird side eye. It looks like it was posted by Ja'Marr. He tagged T. Higgins in it. And at the bottom, it says, "What?" with a question mark. Neither one of them are very pleased with the way that the Bengals are handling these negotiations. I know that Jamar's on record saying he would take a pay cut if it means the team could retain T, or if they could somehow get Justin Jefferson there. I don't know if he's actually going to them with a contract offer or a contract request that has been lowered or not. But the point is, both these guys are great. You have both of them on your roster. You should have extended them by now, and you haven't done it. I don't get the game the Bengals are playing. I know they're cheap, but this feels very Cowboys-like in the sense that they have the talent. They drafted well. They did the hard part, and now they're just waiting till the last possible minute to actually re-sign them.
I think if I'm putting myself, and I've never been in the situation of an NFL GM, but I do understand, in my opinion, I understand what they're doing here. And the Bengals do have some sort of leverage in the situation because of who they have playing quarterback for them. Joe Burrow is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal for the rest of his career. If he ever doesn't play for the Bengals, it will be when he cannot throw a football anymore. So because of that, they have this leverage. If I'm not Justin Jefferson, if I'm Ja'Marr Chase and I want to go play for somebody else, I need to factor in who is throwing me the ball. So money is not the only thing in the world. I want to go to a contender that can win. There's obviously somebody out there that can give him the money to go win and, be on a good team. But you probably want to play with Joe Burrow. You also played with Joe Burrow in college. Your LSU guys together. That bond is also another thing too we got to factor in. You can't probably pay T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase. In the end of the day, they're both worthy of wide receiver one money, and you just simply can't do it. So they're probably going to wait to the last possible minute, which will be the end of the season, and say, hey, who are we going to pay? Which one are we going to go after? And then most likely they're going to give a huge contract to one of those guys. And if they do, they get to play with Joe Burrow. So I think it makes sense. It doesn't make good sense if you're trying to win, but that would be my explanation why they're doing what they're doing.
So my counterpoint would be, doesn't Ja'Marr Chase have leverage in the sense that Joe Burrow has leverage? For everything you said, Joe Burrow is your franchise piece. Ja'Marr Chase is one of his best friends. We know how good they are together. They played in college together. They want to be together. So if you don't make Ja'Marr Chase happy, you're not making Joe Burrow happy.
Yes, but I do think they're going to bring back Ja'Marr Chase because that contract is going to be hefty. That is going to be a significant deal. You can let T. Higgins walk. You can't let Ja'Marr Chase walk.
No, I agree with you because like you said, if this was about the Bengals just don't have the money, T. Higgins still is going to want close to, if not more than $30 million a year. He's not going to reset the market like Ja'Marr will, but it would be pretty close. And at that point, keep Ja'Marr, let T go somewhere else.
Yeah, and they may trade T. Keep that. They could tag him and trade him too. So that's another option that they do have. And if I'm Joe Burrow, as much as I want T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase, I need to say, well, yeah, you're right. You can't pay both these guys because we need to pay some defensive players. We need to build a team, and that's something that they don't have. So while, of course, the receivers are going to be divas, but in the end of the day, Ja'Marr Chase is going to be a Bengal for the rest of his career. And T. Higgins is probably going to get traded this season. They're going to tag him and trade him and get some value for him. That would be how I think it goes down. And the Bengals are good enough to win without T. Higgins. They're good enough to win with Ja'Marr Chase and adding a young receiver to fill the void, but they need defense, and they can't pay two receivers and a quarterback the majority of their money. We see with the Dallas Cowboys, Dak's contract has taken such a hit for this team, and they can't build anywhere else. And that's probably what they're trying not to run into. This team was in the Super Bowl a few years ago. As cheap as they are, they're doing something right.
So we didn't plan on talking about this, but just quick thoughts because it is big news. Deebo to the Commanders. You think it's a bigger deal for Washington or San Francisco?
Well, we were texting about this. I think it's a bigger deal for San Francisco. He did not want to be there at all. He looks fat right now. And again,
he said on Twitter he played at 225 last year.
That's too much. Especially when you're not running if you're playing running back, that's one thing. But when you're primarily a receiver, you can't be doing that. I mean, come on. A fifth rounder is get him out of here with a little value. Please take him off our hands. We do not want him with us. So I think he's fat. I think he can't hurt you guys. The only thing he can hurt is your just team chemistry and dynamic. And again, he had a championship caliber team in San Francisco that he wasn't happy at. So that's the one concern. It's not like he was playing for the Carolina Panthers. He was playing for a team that's been to the Super Bowl, that has a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl this coming season, and he wanted out of there. So that would be my concern as a Commanders fan like yourself.
Yeah, so I'll look at it from both perspectives. First, for San Francisco, the window has closed. Windows open sometimes earlier than expected, and pretty much every time they close earlier than expected in sports. This Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deebo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle window, it's closed. Kittle is getting beyond 30. He's getting older. McCaffrey can't stay healthy. Ayuk off a torn ACL. Deebo isn't there anymore. Bosa is I don't know if you saw this last year, but he was being blamed by a lot of 49ers fans. They said he was stat padding because he doesn't play the run and he doesn't fill his actual assignment in pass rush, and he just gets empty calorie sacks. The team's falling apart. Purdy's going to have to carry a lot of weight next year. You and I don't believe that he's going to be able to do that. From a Commander's perspective, like you said, it's a 5th round pick for somebody who's going to immediately become your second best receiver. Deebo, even if he is overweight, even if he is a little bit washed up, he's better than Olamide Zaccheaus. He's better than De'Ami Brown. He's better than whoever else the Commanders put out there. I get it from that perspective. It's going to make life a little bit easier for Jaden Daniels. You're going to get some dynamism. It's only a 1-year deal. If it doesn't go well, you can get off of him. And actually, it's a $19 million cap hit. But if Washington re-signs Terry McLaurin and trades John Allen, that frees up another $31 million in space. And you have to pay people. So at the end of the day, I view it as a potentially really solid move for Washington. But if it doesn't work out, then it cost you a 5th round pick. And how many 5th round picks are even going to get on the field?
Yeah, that would be my take on it. I would probably lean more towards it makes San Francisco happy than to get rid of him. I think it helps Washington. I think it's a good deal for both sides because the Niners didn't want him. Washington could use him and he could do something more if he's got a clear head. But my biggest concern is like this is a bad attitude guy in a situation that was winning games. So that's where I get a little concerned.
Yeah, I think the hope is, again, it's a 1-year deal. And if it goes well, maybe you sign him for another 2 years. The hope is probably he's rejuvenated, wants a challenge. He's going to a team that was in the conference championship. They've got a good culture with Dan Quinn and everybody. So I think that's probably the thought process behind there. And Deebo's wanted out of San Francisco for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So anyways, Grant, we got the Mavs to finish it up here for our conversation today. Dallas allegedly is raising ticket prices, but you have a theory behind why they're doing this, which is pretty interesting.
It's a conspiracy that's not reported anywhere. And by the way, I do believe it's no longer being rumored. I think it's confirmed. Dallas is raising the ticket prices 8-point-something%, 8.6 maybe. Go check the number, but I know it's 8-something%. If you look at the moves that have been made, nothing has been done with an apparent interest in raising the level of play on the court or pleasing the fans. And I'm talking about after Mark Cuban sold the team. Who did he sell it to? Her name is Miriam Adelson. She is a casino tycoon. She owns the Las Vegas Sands Company, obviously an enormous casino company. What's the problem in Dallas? They're in Texas as a whole, very conservative. Really only a couple of casinos, none in Dallas, no legal sports betting. They are so against gambling, actually, that earlier this week, the Texas lottery issued a new order that basically said you can't use courier services. It's not important, but the point is they're limiting the lottery system. So if you think they're going to legalize sports betting, just go Google Texas sports betting. You're going to find that Senate, that legislature is extremely opposed to it. So again, we've got a casino tycoon who's had no connection to basketball at all, no connection to sports really, buying the team. Why? Her and Mark Cuban talked about building a mega casino attached to the Mavericks Stadium. So you can just walk across a bridge or a tunnel or whatever it is, and you go casino, resort, basketball stadium. They are what I believe they are doing some political posturing here. I'm not saying the Luka trade was entirely for these reasons, maybe not even motivated by them at all. But it is just coincidental that as there is this clash between what the owner wants and what the city and state want, you trade away your franchise player in a move that has never been seen before. Now with the team getting worse, and they're obviously getting worse, you're raising ticket prices. What is the conspiracy here? There's the conspiracy that Miriam Adelson, whoever is running this team, is basically tanking the team, tanking their attendance. And when revenue starts to inevitably drop, they can go to the league and make a case, a very reasonable case, and say, it's not sustainable for us to stay here. We need to relocate the team to Las Vegas. And of course, that's where she is established. That's where all the casinos are. That's where all the gambling is. And Vegas itself, they've got the Aces, they've got the Raiders, they got the Athletics. They're bringing everybody. They want more people, and they need a basketball team. So basically, that's the conspiracy. It's not based on any reports. Don't take this as the gospel, but it is a possible alternative explanation as to what is going on.
I wonder if they play in T-Mobile Center in Vegas. They probably would.
They would probably build their own stadium, I think.
It would just be weird on the Strip to literally have two basketball hockey size arenas on the Strip, but they could. And then you have the baseball stadium coming in too with the Athletics. Vegas is up and coming for sports. Vegas is the premier destination for sports teams right now, and they're going to get a basketball team, whether it's this or through expansion, I think, in the future. But I don't think the Luka trade really had anything to do with your conspiracy theory. I think Nico Harrison legitimately just does not like Luka Doncic. I don't think he wants to pay him. I think he thinks he's like a fat slob. So I don't know. I like where you're going with this theory, but I truly think that Nico Harrison just really didn't like Luka. I don't think the front office liked Luka at all.
And I mean, that's definitely possible too. There's if you look at some Mavs Twitter fan accounts, there's like a ledger of the Mavs making moves that Luka didn't approve of, whether it was letting go of these coaches, not offering them new contracts. They traded all of his friends. He made friends with a guy on a two-way contract. They would cut that guy. There's a long list of things they have done that outwardly look like they were made or done out of spite toward Luka. Now, that's probably not what actually happened, but they didn't take care of him. They didn't go above and beyond. I mentioned on a podcast maybe like 3 weeks ago that Sam Hartman was the smartest guy in the NFL because he became best friends with Jaden Daniels, and the Commander's never going to try to do anything to upset Jaden Daniels. So Sam Hartman's probably going to be the practice squad quarterback for the rest of Jaden Daniels' career. That you weren't seeing the Mavs bend the knee to Luka in that way. They weren't taking care of him the way that the Clippers let Kawhi bring his family on the team playing for road trips. It was just no sort of treatment like that.
No, not at all. And I mean, Luka likes the beers. Like he likes hookah, he likes beers. That's fine. But they didn't like that. So they obviously weren't going to put up with it. I think it has more to do with not wanting to spend a super max contract on a player that you don't think is all in. Because if Luka truthfully was, had the body composition that they wanted. And I think that's just his body composition in general, no matter if he's in shape or not, based on how he plays. If they had the body composition, if he wasn't drinking the beers, he wasn't doing the hookah, if he was all in and taking the Mamba mentality and show up to the gym at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., whatever time, they would have had to pay him. Like you couldn't have made the case in that situation. The only reason you can make the case now is because you could say he's fat and out of shape and not committed to defense and blah, blah, blah.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Luka looks very slim with the Lakers now, and the Lakers have the best defense in basketball.
Yeah. So Lakers, Grant, I put a little sprinkle on to win the NBA Finals a few weeks ago. My cash out went down substantially. Like when Luka wasn't playing well, went down. And now it's back up to where the original money, not saying I'm going to cash out, but my original stake is back in there. So the betting market's picking up on the Lakers.
Yeah. While you were talking, I wanted to go take a look. Okay. So I'm trying to remember the order of operations here. So I believe when the Luka trade first went through, the Lakers went to plus 2,100. After the Mark Williams trade, they went to plus 1,800. That was rescinded. They went back to 2,100. A couple weeks ago, I think they were back to plus 1,800. They are now, as we speak, at plus 1,600. So they are the outright fifth spot. Actually, that's big. They passed the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are now sixth, and the Lakers are fifth in odds to win the title.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at just the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, there's a better chance that the Lakers or Nuggets get to the championship than the Cleveland Cavaliers get to the championship.
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to tell the audience about your unfortunate text over the weekend?
I still believe it. I still truthfully believe it.
Tell them what it
I
is.
said there's no when the Celtics went up 25-3. I said I know this is an anomaly, this start, but I just don't see. I can't see Boston losing to Cleveland in a 7-game series. Even if they got to go on the road, I just don't see it happening. And we can go back to that game, Grant. Too. There was no Drew Holiday. There was no Kristaps Porzingis on the court, right? So,
Yeah.
and credit to the Cleveland, they went off from behind the 3-point line. They made a ton of shots. We made a ton of shots early. We cooled down late. We didn't bring it. But in a 7-game series, when we're fully healthy, playing to our best ability, I don't see it happening. And also, Grant, you know what? I'm very happy that game went the way it did down the stretch, because that's the last time the Celtics and the Cavs are going to play this season until the Eastern Conference Finals. When you look at how the series went, it was a 2-2 split. Every game was close. And the last memory of the Celtics in TD Garden against Cleveland is the Cavaliers coming back from a 25 or 22 point deficit and then a 17-point deficit late in the third quarter. So knowing that should light a fire under your ass next time they come there, and know that we can't take our foot off the gas at all. Because when Jason Tatum's saying, get the F out of here after they go up 25-2 or 25-3, whatever the score was at the time, and then they come back, you look like an asshole. So keep that in your mind, Jason, and don't shut down in the fourth quarter.
Tatum can't help himself.
That's Tatum, fine, though.
All the talks about Tatum being corny and like, why don't people like Jason Tatum, and then that happens. It's just unlucky.
But that's my thought process here. I think it's almost good how it went. Series split 2-2, and your last memory is them coming back from a 17-point deficit in the third quarter. Because you go into that game and you blow them off the floor, Cleveland comes in there, coming for blood. Now, Cleveland's got all the confidence that they can win in Boston, but the Celtics got confidence they can win in Cleveland too. So I personally think that this Thunder team reminds me a lot of the Celtics teams of years past. High expectations, not getting the job done. They need to go through the woes of losing a little bit, where Boston knows they can turn it up at any time. So that's why I think Cleveland is in a tougher spot against the defending champs than the flip side of, you have the Thunder who know how to do it. You have LeBron who knows how to do it. Luka was just in the finals. That's a tougher matchup for a team that really hasn't done anything.
So I agree with your big point here. Celtics, Cavs, and I'm not discounting the Cavs' ability to win that series, but if I were to set my confidence level, I would say, like, realistically, I would put the Celtics at about 70% against the Cavs. I don't have 70% confidence the Thunder beat the Nuggets and beat the Lakers in a 7-game series.
That's kind of where I think that's what I would put it at. The Cavs can beat the Celtics 100%, but I don't see it happening like I see a route to victory for the Nuggets or the Lakers over the Thunder.
Yeah, so looking back at the season series, you mentioned it was incredibly close, but it was actually almost identical. So Boston versus Cleveland, 3-point Cavs win, 3-point Celtics win, 4-point Cavs win, 7-point Celtics win, 7-point Cavs win.
Yeah, and if I'm Joe Mazzulla and I'm sitting back watching film, and we're watching like whatever whales get attacked by sharks in the ocean, I'm going to say, guys, we had these guys 25-3, and we had a 17-point lead in the third quarter. They were like minus 1,700 to win the game on FanDuel. If I'm the Celtics sitting there, I actually feel more confident now, because we had these guys down. We just let them back up. We can't let them back up. We need to turn the intensity on the rest of the game. So Joe Mazzulla will make a coaching point out of this. I think it's great how it ended. I would rather had that than them beat them by 50, because beating them by 50 does no good.
I will say, though, the ability to come back from large deficits, that's built into the way the Celtics play. That's a big reason they've been so successful, is when they fall down. There was a game I think it was against the Pistons last year. They were down by like 22 at halftime, and they were on some big winning streak, and they ended up winning. I think the game might have gone to overtime, but I remember that happening. But because of the 3-point shot, it's allowed them to come from big comebacks. So you are going to see very large swings like this. Cleveland is the most efficient 3-point team in basketball. The Celtics make more threes than any other team. So in a 7-game series, you're going to see some wild swings like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good series. I think it goes 7 games. Worst case or best case for the Celtics, I think it's a 6-game series that they win at home. And then 7, you got to go on the road, and it's anyone's game, and it'll be a pick 'em game at that point. But I trust Boston to win a 7-game series against Cleveland more than I trust OKC to win against Denver or LA, just because we haven't seen the Thunder do it. Like the confidence of getting over the hump is going to be so huge for Boston when they get in those tough situations in the Eastern Conference Finals, where LA and Denver, if they're smelling blood with OKC, Thunder's still a really young team.
Yeah, you should also be thankful Jimmy Butler's no longer in the conference.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Jimmy Butler gave the Celtics some trouble. With that being said, though, he didn't want to be there at all. Even if he was there, he wouldn't even be playing. They'd be keeping him on the sidelines.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, that was Ride the Line for March 4th.
It was a very good episode, guys. We appreciate you all being here. Before you click off of here, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Let us know what your big takeaways are from the combine. Shedeur falling out the first round, Cam Ward first pick, all that stuff. Jump in the comments. Tara and I will be replying to everybody. And until next time, we will see you all in the next episode of Ride the Line.